The Cordial Podcast is back, and of course, I am your host, Mungai Kang'ong'oi. I know you're wondering where this energy is coming from. I'm happy. I am happy because I've had a really busy week. It's still the start of a new month and still busy. My God, I have never thought that I would have a busy life like this, but I prayed for these days, so we are grateful. So happy new month to each and every one of you who listens to the podial. The podial. Hey, my Lord. Who listens to the Cordial Podcast. Thank you very much for listening in. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to every episode that I upload. Today I'm recording from the office, and it's on a Sunday, and it's because I had to come in and do some work. But anyway, I decided why not just record the episode, because there is no one in the office. I am alone and I have time to record. So as I promised you, we are going to start on a new 3-part series where we were talking about the illusion of, dating standards that are outside here. And the first part, of course, is always about introduction, kidogo, on this new swipe age that we have, You look at somebody's story and you're like, nah, not this one. And then there are others, you like their stories, expecting some kind of DM. Ni kama watu wanafaa kusoma, Hey, it's as if you want people to read your minds. But anyway, all these things, we are going to discuss them in the 3-part series that we have in the next 3 weeks. So, from the tea of the week, what can I say? I think I've had a really fruitful week. It has been busy, as I said. I haven't had that much sleep from Thursday, actually, or Wednesday, until now. And I'm feeling a bit heavy. My head is heavy, Bana. From the back to the front, my head is heavy of tiredness. And I was warned about these things. But anyway, still grateful for the opportunity that I've had and the things that I do. So my week has been very, very long. I got to attend a charity event, so I experienced people auctioning an air ticket to Dubai, and I was like, wow, I would love to do these things. Because people were fighting for that thing, anyway. So that was part of it. And then yesterday on Saturday, on 30th, I got to attend a graduation party of my best friend, and it was really, really good. It feels good to show up for your friends, and it's something that I am putting into practice, and I love every single bit of it. So there goes the tea of the week. Nothing much, nothing less. So we're going to jump in straight to our topic of the day, or our topic of the week. And of course, now the introduction of online dating and standards. Well, basically, when we are talking about online dating, first of all, before the other part of standards, online dating is basically finding someone online, following each other, in regards to any social media platform that you're using. Some people use dating sites, which personally I don't have much experiences with, because I've opened a Tinder account, but I was young. I was like probably 17 or 18. I was just trying it out because I saw it trending during those years, but I didn't get the gist of it. But anyway, so I have not much experience from it. I would love to interview somebody who uses Tinder and the others. But anyway, for us, I think when you're talking about this, I think it's from the usual Facebook, Instagram, and probably WhatsApp. Ukiingia kwa group zenye kuna watu wengi na mjuani, especially wakati wa maandamano, there were many groups that were formed of people from everywhere, and I think some people even got their wives from there. And it's really funny when you look at it. It's really funny how social media has kind of eased this process, and you try and think about it. You can also say it has cheapened it, because from the age of our parents, I think they were used to, going out, and when you find somebody, you really put in the work to have that person in your life. Right now, we have access to a lot of people, and we have a lot of access to just conversations each and every single day. You can call somebody, you can have, conversations through text, you can send each other TikToks and all these things and videos and all these things. So to some point isn't the communication bit of it, but it has also cheapened the whole aspect of dating. From my own perspective, it has cheapened it in a way that you can start talking to somebody right now, and you can also talk to 5 other people, with the excuse that we always give of getting to know each other. And it's a funny excuse, but anyway. So online dating is basically that: finding somebody from online, Facebook, Instagram, or liking somebody's story, and then starting to talk, having continuous conversations. And you decide, either you decide to meet and have a really physical date, or you just continue talking online until whenever. Because me personally, I think I have dated somebody online without ever meeting. I don't want to call it dating, but it was just a fallacy. I can just say it was a fallacy. For a couple of months, which was funny. But I can say during that time I was broke, so I couldn't ask somebody out on a date. Anyway, I was in the bits of introduction and not giving out stories mingi hapa. But anyway, so that's basically online dating with a brief description. And then when we come to the online dating standards that are being set, these are basically things that people talk about, and people come to an agreement that this is the kind of standard we need to put up. Women can say, we like tall men, tall, dark, and handsome, and every woman subscribes to that. They decide that's what they want. Those are the kind of standards we are talking about, or we are going to touch on in this 3-part episode. And also men online can say, we love chubby women, and a majority of them can say that, and it becomes a standard where now these particular chubby women think they are loved, or they see this as a validation to them being loved by everyone. And so so those are part of the standards that we are going to talk about. So now, if we can dive just a little bit on how dating has been cheapened by social media platforms. As I said, you can start to talk to somebody right now. You can see somebody's status or story, and it's your friend, or it's somebody you follow, and then they're with somebody else, and you find that person attractive, and you're like, wait, this woman or this man is very attractive. So you go to the person's DM, the person who posted it, and you're like, can you give me that guy's number or that lady's number? Or if it's on Instagram, and they have their account tagged on the story or post, you just go click it, stalk kidogo, and you can follow them, or you can take your time with everything that you're trying to do. But it all begins from that kind of view, where we now have access to a lot of people, a lot of attractive people, if I can add that. And it's really tough when you think about it, because if you're not grounded on what you're doing or how your character is, if you're really not grounded into believing that you can only have one person at one time, then trust you me, social media isn't it this process for you, because you will see beautiful people each and every day, each and every second. You will see. And there's usually this joke on Twitter where people say when like there's a trend of women posting themselves, and it becomes a trend and all those things, and people are always saying, as a joke, that we are not supposed to have access to all these beautiful women or beautiful men, because I think from the age of our parents, you used to see one beautiful girl, and then you're like, wow, I want to pursue her, and that was it, But right now, you have access to a lot of attractive people, and as I said, if you're not grounded, you'll always fall for the next person. You'll fall for the next person. You will never be, firm on staying just grounded and saying, this is just attraction and there's nothing much to it. But can I speak for other people? Definitely not. So you can actually say there is a bit of psychology behind this swiping culture. There's a bit of it that comes out when we are talking about the standards people put up and the kind of access we have to a lot of things. And there are people who get influenced by all these standards. Somebody might come up and say, you shouldn't date broke people, and people, you might not agree to that, but you can see some discourses from people talking about this particular subject and talking about all these things, and you might be left doubting your own belief, and you'll be there trying to now start fitting into that particular narrative and wanting to be like how other people are on the internet, and you get all this kind of pressure that doesn't make sense. And it is really disappointing, and it is really hard, because sometimes you find yourself taking in a lot of things and a lot of content from the internet, and you conform to it. By the way, there are times you don't even notice it until later on, where you realize you've taken a lot of things from the internet, and how you live your life is from the influence you get from the internet. And it is really tough to stay grounded on what you believe in, because hey, if a million people are moving in some kind of current in one way, and you're the only one who's trying to move the other way, then it will be really tough, because everyone is moving this way. You try to act different, and it begins to be tough, like some kind of toughness that doesn't even make sense at all, But at the end of the day, if you're focused on being different, then you will always find the grace to be different. So that's the little bit of the swipe culture. And I think the last part of this episode would be the ghosting phenomenon, where I was thinking of exploring the reason behind ghosting and the emotional toll it takes on people, and we probably are going to touch a bit on the strategies on dealing with it. So first of all, ghosting is something I personally don't subscribe to. I love communicating with people. If I'm not interested in somebody, or not interested in continuing a conversation with somebody, I think I just let it go. You have communication with them and you're like, yeah, this is not giving. It is unfortunate. As I said, this thing has been cheapened to that extent, where now we are having people who are ghosting each other just because they found some other kind of interest elsewhere, So ghosting is basically not communicating with somebody who you've been in constant communication, and you leave the other person wondering if they did something wrong, which is a really bad emotional state to be in when you're ghosted, because you never understand why the other person had to leave without saying or giving a reason, or even just having a conversation before that happens. So as I said, it takes an emotional toll on people. A lot of people get stressed out here when they're ghosted, and there are people who advocate for ghosting as if it's something they would want to experience. And you look at the kind of people who are advocating for it, and these are people who do it endlessly without even thinking about the other person. And trust you me, when they finally taste what they're advocating for, they're always quiet. They have nothing to say. They literally have nothing to say. And it's funny. Me, I usually laugh, because I'm like, you finally got a taste of your own medicine and you really cannot handle it. So why were you advocating it in the first minute? So So when it comes to ghosting, and people are really not, looking at it from the point of dealing with it as humans and giving people the decent opportunity to just have a conversation about things and handling things as mature people decide to just leave and not communicate. I think this is the freedom people talk about, which I cannot subscribe to either. But yeah, so that's it. So when it comes to the strategies of dealing with it, I don't think there's any particular way of it has been set out, this is how you're supposed to deal with ghosting, because at the end of the day, this is an interaction between two people which has been abruptly stopped, and there is no communication in between. There are people who try to reach out to the other party and they try to find the reason onto why the communication stopped or the conversation stopped, and they also don't get answers, or the other person gives some weak excuses that don't even make sense, and it is tough. So when it comes to the strategies to deal with it, I think most of it, personally, I would advocate in asking why, after some time, probably, some good amount of time of asking why then did our conversation stop, just to gauge, like, if the other person is mature enough to have that kind of conversation, which is pretty hard, because at first, if they were mature enough, they would have communicated, but here we are. So yeah, one of it, personally, I love asking questions. Why did this happen? And I ask for the truth, because there's no need of giving me excuses. Just tell me the truth. If you find some interest in some other person, then cool, tell me that. It's not like I'll come to your house and kill you just because you shifted your interest. At the end of the day, it's not good to leave somebody blank like that. There are people who deal with it by getting into multiple conversations with other people just to get away from that feeling, which I can't say is really fulfilling personally, because that's really running away from the issue that is. There are other people who decide to just feel every kind of feeling that comes about with this particular emotional toll, and they feel it until the end, and they say, wow, okay, that was that, and they accept what it is, and they move on. So everyone has their own way of dealing with it. Just ensure that however you deal with it is not from a point where you'll harm yourself or you'll not accept the truth. Let it be from a healthy point of view. So yeah, so that has been our first episode of this 3-part series, where we were just introducing what the topic is and what we are going to, of course, further down in conversations in the next episode and the third episode. So, of course, our next our next episode will be on the standards versus expectations that we have when it comes to dating and, basically online dating, and all these things that we have conversations with when it comes to people who are accustomed to online dating. So very much looking forward to that. I hope you have a blessed week. I hope you have a blessed day wherever you're listening this to. So see you next time. Tafadhali, don't share this episode.